Welcome on to the Tortillas and Takes podcast. You are on once again with your boy, I'll be sure, and we're 1 week away, baby. We are 1 week away from football. We're 1 week away from Texas Tech playing Arkansas Pine Bluff, and we are only 1 day away from week 0. That's right. College football, in essence, kicks off. Actually, Jeremy doesn't. No, it does. It kicks off Farmageddon, Kansas State, Iowa State. I thought for a second we had a Friday night game, but we do not have a game tonight when this posts. But it does kick off our Saturday morning. So K-State fans, get ready. Bright and early. They did this so you couldn't just be drunk off your A all day. It's going to be – you might be drunk off your A after the game if you lose. But with the two universities, Kansas State and Iowa State, somebody being drunk after the game. So I will say – and let me, before I say this next statement, I, of course, got to introduce my co-host, the people champ himself, Jeremy Gillen. Jeremy, I will say, is this the most shotgun start to a college football season you've ever seen?
I'm still here, people. What do you mean by that?
Like, it just, the season starts, and boom, we're in Ireland. Game is like, 10 in the morning or whatever it is. Like, it's just big game, big rivalry game, kicking off college football right from the very beginning. Like, that is a shotgun start if I've ever seen one.
Well, we did Ireland last year too. Remember?
Yeah, that was Northwestern versus freaking no, who cares? I didn't even watch that.
Florida State, right? No, it was Florida State, Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. Yeah, I didn't watch that game. I mean, it was a good upset.
It was
a good upset.
Well, was it an upset though? But
well, now that we know more,
you're like, oh boy, they did.
But I'm just saying. So the game starts the game starts at noon, right? It is. A ranked Iowa State team against a ranked Kansas State team, two teams that are vying for the Big 12 title, vying for college football playoff, starting at noon, right when college football opens. I feel like this is the biggest, just shot to the system to start the college football season I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, this was a lot more exciting of a beginning than Georgia Tech and Florida State, especially for Big 12 fans. It's like you're talking about one of the most exciting rivalries in our conference. Something that they have done a very good job at hyping up year after year. And now they're transplanting that over in Ireland. Interesting. So absolutely. I love I'm enjoying the more international feel of kind of like including getting other networks kind of involved, other markets involved. And hey, you know what? Let's do Ireland. Why not? But I'm wondering, hey, when are we going to do Canada? When are we going to do Mexico, right?
So let me ask you this. Well, Mexico is on the list for your Mac. He really wants to do Mexico. It's only a matter of time before that happens. Let me ask you this question, though. It's for Big 12 fans that are not fans of the Purple People Eaters or the corn-fed brethren. This is very exciting. It's very fun. It's Big 12 football, week 0, 12 noon, start the season. But if you're a fan of those two teams, are you still as happy about such a conference game, a big rivalry game in a completely different hemisphere, right? And for Kansas State, they lose a home game, right? Like, if Texas Tech had the same situation against TCU, would we still be as happy about this?
Yeah, so you do lose that getting to enjoy it. I think that's a very good point. There's two sides to the coin, and I think you'll find people on both sides of the aisle. Really, it's like, how do you appreciate missing one rivalry game to be on the grand stage, the first game that they're kicking off basically college football with? If you put a lot of stock and value into that, yeah, you know what? It's okay. Next year we'll get back to it on the home turf. But I do see the area where it's like, hey, we could have done literally any other game. Why couldn't we do a non-conference game? But the reality is that they're not going to. Maybe they learned from last year. We're not just going to bring in two teams that don't really have a ton going for them. They wanted to bring in something a little bit more a little bit more pizzazz, something that definitely carried some weight. And Iowa State fans, Kansas State fans, I'm excited for you. I think it's a really unique opportunity if you've got the money, and that's the big problem, is that if you've got the money to travel to Ireland and watch the game in person, there's a lot of people that will get kind of cut off from that. And that will, I think for them, that'll be a little bit more upsetting. But for the people that get to go and enjoy a rivalry that is so familiar and so storied to them in a completely different setting, I I think that's just such a unique experience that kind of makes up for it, because they're not going to do this every year, right? You're coming back next year. So I don't know. I can agree that there's another part of the aisle. I don't really understand it. Because for me, it's just exciting. I think it's a really cool opportunity. I'd love to see Texas Tech, first of all, open up a college football season. Hey, we're opening up with Texas Tech first college game day, and you know what? We're doing it in freaking Germany. Like, that's sick. I'm not going. But
you wouldn't go?
Sick. Nah, this would be expensive.
I think I agree. I think sometimes it's lame in the fact that, like, I wouldn't get to, I mean, I don't live in Lubbock anyway, but like it strips away the home field advantage, it strips away the ability for our fans to be able to go as much, right? But to your point, this is one game that is put you on center stage. Now, I will say, where I think it changes is that this is the longest continuous rivalry in the country. And not only is the longest continuous current rivalry in the country, it is, at the FBS level, but it is also, for both of these teams, their second biggest rival. So it's a big rivalry game. At Farmageddon, I don't know if we have, like, we hate TCU, we hate Baylor. I don't know if we hate TCU and Baylor as much as Iowa State and Kansas State hate each other. So I think for them, that vitriol, they wish it was still there. But speaking of which, I would love – listen, Brett Yormack, fan of the pod. I know he listens to us all the time. We got to save Farmageddon. We already lost Tech Baylor, right? Tech Baylor was one of the longest continuous rivalries in the country. Last year was the last time we played continuously. We're not going to play them this year. Farmageddon is set to end next year because of the Big 12's ridiculous ruling that they're not protecting any rivalries, which I think is just dumb. I actually think they should protect multiple rivalries, but at least one. At a bare minimum, protect one. And if you ask me, Farmageddon's more worth saving than the Sunflower Showdown. So yeah, I save Farmageddon. It's a great rivalry. What's great about the rivalry, in my opinion, is that they're always good or bad at the same time, right? Like, when K-State's good, Iowa State's usually good. When Iowa State's bad, K-State's usually bad. Like, they're usually, which does make a pretty good rivalry. It's one of the reasons why I've said TCU is a bigger rivalry than you probably would have thought, because we also kind of had that same trajectory in all sports, right? When we were terrible at basketball, so was TCU. I was like, okay, we're going to get a win here. It's going to be a competitive game here, right? When we were good at baseball, when we started rising in baseball, boom, TCU met us where we're at. We're competing for Big 12 championships in baseball, right? And so even as up until 2 years ago, women's basketball, as bad as we've been, TCU's been bad, right? So they've always matched our energy, which is why, if you ask me, they're currently our biggest conference rival, right? Baylor is just because of the history. We had the history with them. We played them continuously, yada, yada, yada. But TCU, in my opinion, is the team that I know that in the conference that I hate the most. And the team, because the games are good. And what makes a great rivalry is even when there is a disparity, like TCU being ranked, third in the nation, and Texas Tech being an unranked team that should just be happy to be in the same vicinity of them, we were a tipped ball away from pulling off that great upset. So like that's what makes great rivalries. So to Farmageddon, in my opinion, is also a great rivalry, and I would like it to stay. So with all that being said, that really kicks off the Big 12 schedule. I mean, the Big 12 is, even if it's not the greatest shotgun start to the season in college football, it is the greatest shotgun start to the season in the Big 12, right? And so that is pretty amazing. Week 0 also features Kansas, because Kansas, they have a deal with the devil that they refuse to let K-State play and them not play. That's just, if K-State's not going to have any shot, they're like, hey, listen, Iowa State, please beat Kansas State, and we're going to beat up on Fresno State. So Kansas starts off week 0 as well. Fox game late in the evening against Fresno State, which not a great Fresno State team, but still, it's going to be a decent test for Kansas to kick off the season. And then we go right into week 1. And I will say, as much as I dislike the scheduling as far as ending rivalries, the scheduling as far as putting us on national TV, pretty good, right? It's the week 1 Thursday night games. And week 1, a lot of times you're going to have against crappy teams, right? But because it's Thursday night, you're going to have the opportunity to potentially see Oklahoma State play UT Martin, see Houston play SFA, see UCF play Jacksonville State. And then you are going to get that nighttime Thursday night game, Cincinnati and Nebraska, where Cincinnati can pull off an upset and really put the Big 12 on the map.
I had a hard time unmuting here. So I actually went back up to no, because we'll come back around to Kansas. But I think I'm really excited. And you actually want to point out that's something I noticed, and this is kind of really behind the scenes stuff, is that the effort to we talk about like kind of Texas Tech's position, like branding, positioning, brand positioning, and things like that. Something that's really happening over the past 2 seasons, especially, is that we've gotten more major network representation. We've been on more. I would like to actually go back and look at kind of the numbers of each season, just being more in the primetime area of like viewership and getting more major network being picked up, more major networks picking us up. CBS, stuff like that. So just that's a really important thing to think about just in the back of your mind. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, so I think they have done a really good job putting us on the national stage. And I know I cut us off on Thursday, but even that next Friday, like the very next day, it's Auburn, Baylor. Then it's on Fox. At the same time, it's Georgia Tech, Colorado on ESPN, right? Like that puts us, puts us smack dab, right there. And then actually the next day, Saturday, it's Hawaii, Arizona on HBO Max on TNT, right? That kicks off the TNT's coverage of the Big 12. And then you have Utah and UCLA, which is kind of a old school Pac-12 thing there. And then Monday Night Football of TCU, North Carolina, which is always a big spot, right? And so we have what is that? 1, 2, 3. For some reason, Iowa State's back on national TV against South Dakota for some weird reason. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 national televised games in week 0 and week 1. Like that's amazing. That's really good publicity for the Big 12. And it's a way for us to kind of put forward. I think the deal also with TNT is a good one, as TNT and Turner Sports try to make themselves more of an overall sports channel, right? And the fact that the Big 12 was able to kind of grab onto that, I think is a great thing as well. I mean, it's not it's not ABC or CBS or NBC, but I would argue it's the next tier, right? I mean, it's no, if you can get to ESPN, you can get to TNT.
Yeah, it's right there.
So and I think I would rather Turner Sports than Fox always throwing us on FS1.
100%. 100%.
So with that, Jeremy, we mentioned all the games in week 0 and week 1. The Big 12, I was reading an article. I think I can't remember if it was ESPN or who it was, but I was reading an article talking about the Big 12's perception. So we I think as Big 12 fans understand that if you ask me, the Big 12 is the 3rd best conference in the country. And actually, I think we're closer to the Big 10 than we are to the ACC. I really do. Because a conference isn't a collection of your best teams, it's a collection of the entire conference, right? For the Big 10, for example, yeah, you can puff your chest out about Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon, but you still have UCLA, Rutgers, and Maryland in your conference as well, right? And so for the Big 12, up until recently, teams 1 through 10 could compete. Right now, even recently, as some schools are still trying to work their way up, like Cincinnati, we're still top to bottom a really strong conference, in my opinion. You look at the ACC, even their brand names in like Florida State and Miami have been embarrassing the last decade, right? Outside of Clemson, what top team, like you're just going off of brand names. So if you're the ACC, a great example that I brought up the other day was that the Big 12 took the 4 best G5 programs in the country in Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU, right? In the first, we're really BYU being kind of a mid-tier person. So let's just say from the American Athletic Conference, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati. In the first 2 years of the Big 12, those 3, none of them even have a winning season. They have struggled. They are trying to adjust to the Big 12. Those are the 3 best programs in the American Athletic Conference. All of them had won a conference championship. All of them, a couple of them, I think a couple of them had won multiple conference championships. UCF went undefeated. All right, they were dominating the American. Come to the Big 12, they can't do nothing right. Juxtapose that to SMU. Now, when those three universities were in the American, SMU couldn't get anything right. The second they leave, SMU wins the conference championship, right? SMU goes to the ACC year one, goes to the conference title game. Year one. So you mean to tell me that conference, you mean to tell me is better than the Big 12? So it's a big perception problem. But the article I was reading was talking about the perception problem and talking about the best way the Big 12 can adjust this perception isn't by what I just said. It isn't by opinions. It isn't by people talking into a microphone. It isn't by any of that. It's by beating other conferences. That's really the only way. Consistently beating other conferences. So we mentioned in week 0 and week 1, Cincinnati has in Kansas, they play at Arrowhead in Kansas City, the home of Mahomes, and they play baby Mahomes. They play Dylan Raiola in Nebraska. Right? They are what's the Nebraska is 6.5-point favorites, right? So Cincinnati's going to be underdogs there. Baylor, right? Baylor are home dogs against Auburn, right? Colorado is home dogs against Georgia Tech, right? If we go to some other games here, Utah's the road favorite in Pasadena because they're playing UCLA. But I think the biggest one, perception-wise, TCU at North Carolina. TCU's actually road favorites, which is surprising, but still in Chapel Hill at North Carolina. So that's all those games. If the Big 12 wants to change perception, a TCU win against Bill Belichick in North Carolina, huge for perception, right? A Baylor win against Auburn that everyone thinks is going to be new and improved, huge for perception. Colorado beating a Georgia Tech team that's supposed to be new and improved, big. Cincinnati beating a Nebraska team that some Nebraska fans think this may be the best season Nebraska's going to have in over a decade, right? Some fans are really looking at the Nebraska season like we're looking at Tech and saying, hey, man, we're going to be good this year. And so if Cincinnati from day one puts a stop to that, that's a way to really change that perception. So that's what the article was talking about. I thought it was a great article in that aspect of like that's what we have to do. And with all these Big 12 teams playing these other conferences week 1, it's going to be vital and important.
Yes, absolutely. And, you brought up SMU. There's another team out there that changed conferences into a new conference and then won it their first year, which makes you, again, consider what's the severity of these conferences? Like, just, are they truly, what is the true strength of these conferences? But no, the truth there, I think you bring up a really good point that what bothers people so much, what bothers people so much is that there is this like very cyclical discussion. And we'll just take, I don't know, the SEC, for example. You have the SEC who every year they've got a bunch of top 25 teams, and every year they just play each other in a lot of cupcakes, and at random times throughout the season. When they're playing each other, it's not like, dang, like that conference is eating itself up. It's like, man, this conference is the most competitive conference because we've got all these top 25 teams. Now, on the other hand, you look at conferences like, I don't know, just pick a random one, Big 12, and the Big 12 doesn't have a ton of preseason top 25 teams. And then you have like, for just fans, it's like, man, this conference has a bunch of parity. Like anybody could win it. That's kind of cool. It makes college football fun. And the pundits are like, man, Big 12 sucks. And the only way you're going to make it to the college football playoff if you win the Big 12 when you get the automatic bid. Because we can't make any excuses for 2 Big 12 teams getting in. That doesn't make sense. It's not strong enough of a conference. They don't have enough top 25 teams. I don't recognize all their brands, stuff like that. So the way to navigate that well is to play other conferences. Now, I really enjoy that. Like in basketball, we have the Big 12 SEC challenge. Yeah. And I think that would be a really unique idea to kind of integrate maybe into the way we do preseason. Like, why not use preseason as you can have your cupcake, you pay $500,000 to come whoop on them or lose, but why not have like a rotating external conference game like we're doing with we got Oregon State. We had Oregon, we were going to do back to back, and then they switched. So, but we've got an external Power 5 opponent. I would love to get more SEC teams on the roster. Will SEC teams ever agree to that? No, because if they louse to a Big 12 team, that delineates their entire purpose of the best conference ever. So
exactly,
it's frustrating.
Exactly.
But then they don't come out to play. That's the thing.
Well, and so it is a cyclical contest, right? Because and it's driven by media. ESPN, which owns the SEC, which is the media partner for the SEC, they're the ones that have a lot of pundits that get to vote in these polls. So they vote these SEC teams high. You have of the 16 SEC teams, a large number that are in the big top 25. They play each other. They raise each other up. You're always going to give them the SEC boost. And then when it comes time, you say, oh, well, Alabama that lost to Vanderbilt and has lost 3 games and has no business being in the college football playoff should be in over a BYU team. Like, I still to this day do not understand why the Big 12 as a whole wasn't puffing their chest out for BYU. In my opinion, BYU was by far the number one snub of the college football playoff last year. And meanwhile, we're arguing Alabama and Ole Miss. Ole Miss, why? Like BYU for me, it was 100% the biggest snub of that, and for that reason, right? But in order to do so, though, we do have to change perception by winning some of these games. I also think. You brought up college basketball. College basketball, one thing that really helps them is it's for the most part, it's a pretty data-based system. You have the RPI, you have the NET, though they have preseason polls and polls of this, that, and the other, the mid-season selection show where they show us the top 16 teams or the top 4 seeds in each bracket or whatever, and that doesn't factor in AP poll, doesn't factor in Fox poll. I mean, sure, these are humans doing it, so I'm sure that may bring some bias into it in that aspect. But for the most part, they're relying on data more than anything, right? There's even KenPom, which is not an official NCAA thing, but it's data-based. Football doesn't really have that. The best thing that football has is ESPN has their own power index, which is kind of giving you that data a little bit. But again, it's ESPN doing it. So I do think that that's one big thing that football is lacking. Right, because even if you think about the BCS, for example, the BCS eventually factored in polls.
Bring back the BCS.
Yeah. The original BCS didn't factor in polls as much, and everybody hated it. They were like, "Oh no, we got to think about the human element," yada yada yada. But I do think that's what's
the human element.
Yeah, it's only the human element. So yeah. So as we talk about and think about the Big 12, let's look at some of these teams, shall we? So, Jeremy, I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. Okay. So give me your sleeper team in the Big 12. Give me the team that you're like, man, people ain't really talking about them, but they're going to make some noise.
Texas Tech. No.
Boo. Boring.
A sleeper team. I wish we had a preseason. This is where a situation. I wish we had a preseason poll, so that I could say like, okay, these were picked obviously. So like last year, okay, Arizona State picked pretty low. They're my sleeper team because I don't understand why people. But we don't have that, so like I don't know.
I think Gambling put out like the pod media rankings for anybody who's willing to give their own rankings there. I'll shout out to Sheehan and the people over at CBS Sports. I will pull up their Big 12 rankings and kind of give you what their thoughts are. Let's see here. All right. So predicted order of finish for every person. Do we have a consensus here for CBS Sports? Let's see here. We do not have a consensus. So you want RJ, friend of the pod, Chip Patterson, Brandon Marcello, or Sheehan?
Let's do Sheehan so that we have some
Tom Fornelli. So Sheehan actually does pick Texas Tech to win the conference.
That's right, Sheehan. Let's go.
No, we're taking him away. Okay.
Albie's already out of Tech. That's too optimistic, buddy. Get the hell
what's
out
funny?
Of here.
You know what's really hilarious about him doing that? He put out a tweet. What's it called? A couple weeks ago, and he was like, whenever you submit your Big 12 predictions, and he had that picture, a meme of like SpongeBob and the thing. Okay. And I was like, go ahead, Sheehan. You picked Texas Tech. Joking. And he didn't respond. Sheehan usually does respond. He didn't respond. I'm like, and I didn't think anything of it until just now.
There it is.
That is
He was
funny.
like, son of a bitch, I can't say
Yeah. I cannot
You got it.
pump this up. He was like, I cannot pump this up. All right, let's go to LAJ. Here's the Lubbock Avalanche General, our boy Don. Big Don. Big Don. All right. So he has number one Big 12 power rankings, Arizona State. Arizona State number one. He has Baylor number two, Texas Tech number three, Iowa State number four, Kansas State number five, TCU 6, Utah 7, Brigham Young, we call them by the government, BYU at 8, Kansas at 9, Cincinnati at 10, Colorado 11, Houston 12, West Virginia 13, UCF 14, Arizona, wow, 15, and Oklahoma State, the worst team in the conference. So with that being said, by Big Don, the OG, who's your sleeper team?
I'm stunned that Oklahoma State's getting dumped on so much, if I'm being honest. Yes, Oklahoma State had an extremely terrible year last year by every standard measurable. But we didn't just skirt past Oklahoma State either. Like that was a pretty tough game. So I think that Oklahoma State's kind of due for a bounce back season. Now, are they a sleeper to win the Big 12? No. But I think that they're going to give a lot of teams that want to win the Big 12 a lot of trouble along the way.
Are they going to a bowl?
I would say Oklahoma State's going to a bowl this year for sure. That or Mike Gundy may have his last ride in Stillwater. Because it's a pretty insane, and that's a good question about boosters and like how much does Stillwater actually care versus how much power does Gundy actually have. But I think Oklahoma State's just not getting enough love this season because it's so easy to find teams that like fall on their face and go, yeah, well, whatever. But on the same note, it's like, why is a team like Arizona State, who was pretty much run by Cam Scadaboo last season, you know what? They're probably going to win the Big 12 this year. And I think as Texas Tech fans, we're maybe just thinking like, the hell's that about? Because we beat them. Not everybody did that, but you might remember we beat them. So there's a lot of like lack of continuity when you're talking about like, oh, a team that had a really good year, so they're going to do really good this season. But Oklahoma State had a really bad year. They're going to do really bad this season. I just don't see it the same way.
So I'm going to give you one reason why I don't agree with you and one reason why I do. The reason I don't agree with you is simply because what's the funny thing about last year's anomaly of a season, which was Oklahoma State season. They were picked by a lot of people to win the Big 12 last year. They were supposed to be really good. And a big reason for that was because last year was supposed to be a very veteran-laced team. Right? Alan Bowman was coming back for his 35th year at quarterback. Flash Gordon was coming back, and he was one of the best running backs in the entire country. Right? Their O-line was pretty veteran-laced. Their defense was pretty veteran-laced. Like that team, this was – how certain teams, and I think for Texas Tech, it's the next like 2 years is the case for us. But teams, you have your class that comes in, and you're like, man, when this class becomes seniors, woo, it's going to be great. That was Oklahoma State last year, and they stunk. They stunk, and they had injury problems, but they didn't have that many injury problems. They just flat out stunk, right? And so the reason why I think a lot of people have them pegged for near the bottom this year is because, well, now not only did they stink last year, everybody left. So, and it's not like they killed in the transfer portal either because of, like you mentioned, whether it's Gundy, whether it's just Oklahoma State boosters not being willing to go through this new era of NIL. Not everybody can be Clemson and act like they don't pay and still win. So that's the reason why I don't agree with you. The reason I do agree with you is Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy. Don't question him. Don't. I've downed him before. He's had. I think for them, if they make a bowl game, that's Mike Gundy being a great coach. Just making a bowl game. Because I don't think this roster is very good. So my sleeper team, and so my team that I think is being underrated, but is going to legitimately be a problem. So there's two teams I'm going to mention. One team I've thought about this all offseason, and it's actually a pretty popular pick for sleeper team. So I haven't mentioned it as much because a lot of people are, and that's Utah. When their schedule first came out at Utah, a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, Utah. They stunk last year. It's going to be an easy win. I think when you and I were talking about it initially, I was like, ooh, I don't know. All right, the best thing that ever happened to them was their quarterback leaving the program when he did, giving them the whole offseason to find a new one, right? And so Utah is a team that I'm like, man, they're still talented. There's still some, and, I would love them to be bad again, but I don't know. And Devin Dampier, He was at New Mexico was dangerous, right? So Utah's one. The other team that I'm actually surprised that is so low is Colorado. Colorado won. They were also a game away from the Big 12 championship last year. I know Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter was a big part of that team. They had the Heisman Trophy winner, and they had, in my opinion, the second best quarterback in the country last year. Second or third, top three. Mm-hmm. And so I saw in that aspect, you're like, oh, they're gonna collapse, right? And then maybe Coach Prime doesn't care as much because Shedeur's not there, et cetera, et cetera. Listen, Caden Salter was killing at Liberty, right? Mm-hmm. He was killing at Liberty. Julian Lewis is in the back just waiting, just in case, right? And so I think Colorado is a team that, Don has them at 11th in the conference. I don't see it. I think that's a team that you got to watch out for. I think all their games are going to be close. They don't get blown out. And so with that, if the game is close and you got weapons like you do at quarterback and at some of their positions, watch, and the crowd's going to be rocking. Watch out for Colorado. All right, flip side, Jeremy, give me a team that you think is highly rated but's going to flop. A la Utah.
Arizona State. I don't know. I just think that there's way too much expectations for the Sun Devils. Because remember last season, picked at the bottom, and this kind of started the conversation around maybe we shouldn't do preseason polls because it made it our entry into the football playoffs very convoluted, screwed over BYU, stuff like that. But Arizona State picked towards the bottom, and for good reason. Nobody knew, right? Nobody knew what was going to go on. Unless you were watching Pac-12 After Dark. You didn't know who Cam Scadaboo was. It was just unknown. And when they beat who did they beat at the very beginning? They beat Utah. It was the first conference game, and they beat Utah. And Utah was ranked at the time because, again, everybody thought Utah was Utah. They were not. But that lit a fire into Arizona State. So then they go on this dreamy season of getting better every week, except losing to Texas Tech because that's what you do, and just kind of pioneering their way to the college football playoff. And it was 100% on the back of Cam Scadaboo and their defense. I'll say their defense did a really good job last season. And the hard part about this prediction is that they've got the defense still. The only thing different about the team is Cam Scadaboo is not on the team anymore. Pretty much the same team. So the question is, how much offensively did they really rely on him? Because remember when they played Texas or when they played Penn State? When they played
Texas in the CFP?
Yeah. Yes. Shutting down Cam Scadaboo ruined their entire offense. It was so hard for them to get into a different rhythm. And they were still in it. So they were still in it, thankfully, for their defense. But without Cam Scadaboo, it became so much more convoluted for them. So I don't know. It's a team that, for me, I could see them not falling flat on their face, but not nearly end up in the middle of the pack or something.
Do you not trust Sam Levitt? Because Sam Levitt's getting a lot of NFL draft love, a lot of some people considering him the best quarterback in the country or one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I would argue, other than Arch Manning, Sam Levitt might be the most hyped quarterback in the country.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He's getting not way too much love, but I think that a lot of that's coming from we're expecting them to win the Big 12, so this is how I imagine him. And everything he does, I'm framing it from that point of view. Not hey, this kid's got a lot to prove, but more dang, he's probably going to lead Arizona State to the college football playoff again. It's that same scenario where you're looking at quarterbacks in this rosy lens of, if I don't praise them now, I'm going to look like a fool later. And he may have all the intangibles and all that stuff, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not as bought in on it as everybody else seems to be.
I agree wholeheartedly. That's the team that I had as well. As the team that I listen. They won a lot of close games last year, and a lot of it was off the back of Cam Scadaboo, right? So if Cam isn't in the game, right, do they still have that win against UCF? Do they still have that win against BYU? Do they still have that win, against Utah? Right? There was a lot of close games. Hell, they do not push Texas to the wire to double overtime without Cam Scadaboo. Now, they are getting an Army transfer in Kanye Udo, which, quick aside, how do you transfer from the Army? How does that even work? I don't, anyways. They are getting that transfer, so he knows how to run the rock, but he ain't no Cam. right? And admittedly, I had to change my opinion on Cam. I thought he was being a little boosted. I was like, nah, man, how dare you put Cam in the first team All Big 12 ahead of Todd Brooks? How dare you? And then Cam was like, watch this, and balled out. So I was like, well, let me shut myself up. But yeah, so like a lot of it is on Sam Levitt. I do think Sam Levitt's a good quarterback, but I actually agree with you in that I don't think this Arizona State team as a whole is more talented than Baylor, more talented than Texas Tech, more talented than Iowa State, or more talented than Kansas State. I think those are the 4 teams that are competing for the Big 12. And I was going to ask you this question, but I'll tell you my opinion off top. To me, those are the 4 teams competing for the Big 12. And I think it's more likely that Utah goes to Arlington than Arizona State.
Yeah, I could see that. And I like it for the opposite reason of Arizona State, because Utah had so much difficulty last season with a quarterback, with a will he, won't he quarterback, or is he not injured quarterback? Is he going to go get a job, or is he going to stay here quarterback? And now when they're finally like, okay, this is not the situation. We have our set team. Let's just get back out there. Utah has everything to prove this year, because last year they came into the conference, not the team. Again, I'm going to separate the team from the fans, but the fans were unbearable, right? We don't deserve to be in this conference. We're so much better. And flat on their face. I mean, flat on their face. It was primetime TV. Everybody loved every time Utah lost. It was a win for the Big 12. Now this year, Utah's got an identity. They have a lot to fight back, a lot to reclaim. If Utah has another poor year like that, I don't even know. Like that's tough. So I think Utah has so much more to prove, and Arizona State, for the opposite reason, feels like, they did so well last year because everybody doubted them. So I think they're kind of in opposite scenarios right now.
Yeah. So let's make some predictions, shall we, Jeremy? Who's your conference player of the year? Who's going to be the guy that just balls out of control this year in the Big 12?
Just offense?
Yeah, we'll do offense.
Okay. Balls out. I don't know, man. Probably Sawyer Robertson. I think Robertson has a really good opportunity to just turn a lot of heads, because they got a lot of good games, especially that Auburn game. Like, that's a way to really get his name out there and build a fire. I think Baylor's just, unfortunately, a pretty well-built team again. And so I think Sawyer Robertson's just got a lot of that it factor. And we were talking about this in another pod. He's just like one of those quarterbacks people aren't talking about too much, but really should be, because he's got a lot of talent, man. But another guy I think about, who's maybe a little too young right now, but Rocco Beck from Iowa State. Okay. That's a guy who, not crazy on the stat sheet, but last season, 4 game-winning drives from that dude. 4 game-winning drives for Iowa State. And would have had one on us if we didn't have Taj Brooks. So it's like, I don't know. He could have a really good year too. So for me, though, I am definitely looking at the quarterbacks for that title, because this year, quarterback, there's just so much talent around the Big 12.
Great choice for Sawyer Robertson, because I agree. I think he's going to have a really good year. I think he's going to the end of the season Sawyer Robertson had for Baylor was really good. You start to really see how good of a player he is. I do question if the coaching is going to allow him to really ball out or not, but Sawyer Robertson's a really good pick, and this probably finishes in second place for me. First place is a guy that I thought was going to catch fire last year. That team was my pick to win the conference last year, and he didn't. The team was still pretty good, but he did not catch fire. But I think he's ready. That's Avery Johnson.
I thought you might go with Johnson.
Yeah, Avery Johnson. It's just, he has the ability. He's so dynamic. I think he's the most dynamic player in the conference. I think his ability to run and pass, right? Last year, his passing was rough. And whenever he came under duress, it was a real problem. So you have a whole offseason to work on that. Anybody questioning you being able to juke somebody out or run straight line speed, anything like that, but can you throw on the run? Can you 3 linemen around you? Can you stand in the pocket and make a solid throw? And I think he can. I think that helps him. right? And when it comes to me saying that he's the most dynamic player in the conference means that he overtakes Jalen Daniels, who everyone said was the most dynamic player conference last year. Jalen Daniels, I think we saw who he is last year. I'm not going to say he was figured out, but it did look like he was. I know he was hurt. I get that. He did look, even when he was healthy, didn't look great. I think Avery Johnson had something you can build on. I think he built on it this year. And so yeah, I think Avery Johnson is my pick. I know you have Sawyer Robertson. So let's switch to the other side of the conference. Defensively, who you guys are defensive player of the year?
Probably like Lee Hunter or David Bailey on the Texas Tech D line. Are you joking? Yeah, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it. Texas Tech defense is for real this year, talent alone. So everybody's looking towards those two guys to kind of lead this team. Those two guys are this defense, excuse me. Those two guys are going to be making the most noise. I know that both those dudes are eyeing NFL spots. So this is a great year. This is great for either of them to do something incredible. A la like Tyree Wilson, just an absolute force along the line that, hard not to bring his name up in conversation.
Yeah. Great pick there, especially David Bailey. I think he's definitely in the running for me. I need to keep coming to the mic. He's definitely in the running to me. David Bailey, I think one name also to look out for, and it's tough for this position to win Big 12 Conference Player of the Year, so I'm not going to necessarily say him. Xavier Alford from Arizona State. Outside of Cam, I thought Xavier Alford was the best player on that team, on the Arizona State team. I think this year he is the best player on the Arizona State team, even better than Sam Levitt. And so Xavier Alford, because of the way he plays the run and the way he plays the pass, I think is going to be in the running for it. Obviously, Jacob Rodriguez is going to be right there. He was the preseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. I think the biggest reason why I don't give it to Jacob Rodriguez or to Lee Hunter or to David Bailey, we have too many. We have too many stars on defense. They're going to pick from each other. Only one tackle to go around, right? And that's their only reason why I refrain from giving it to those guys is because of that aspect. So
good problem to have.
Yeah, great problem to have. So interesting, and sometimes this happens where a player wins a award like this on a bad team. But give me Dante Corleone. It's from Cincinnati.
Okay.
Yeah, from Cincinnati.
Corleone, the name alone.
Because here's the thing, and maybe it's a far out there pick, but the team's going to be bad. The defense is going to be that good. He's going to be able to eat. No, he might get double teamed some here or there, but imagine getting double teamed and still getting the sack.
Yeah,
right? So that's, it's a little bit out there of a pick. I think some other guys that may be in the running, Austin Romaine from Kansas State is going to be definitely in the running. I felt bad picking both Kansas State on the front and backside, so I wasn't going to go there. But Bud Clark from TCU, another good one there as well. So but give me Corleone, a little out there pick there. Big take, right? Spicy. You know what I mean? But yeah, so there you go. All right, so Jeremy, it's time. Who is in Arlington and who wins the Big 12 championship?
I think, what I like is that we do play Utah, which will be, in my mind, kind of like you're saying, it's going to be one of those really early games that is going to decide your Big 12. Like, are you going to get to the tournament or not? Are you going to get to the title or not? But I do think Texas Tech is going to be one of the teams for 1,001 reasons. And it's really weird to say. It's really weird to say and feel confident about it. Because the thing is, if we don't, then we'll just have shame all over. So that's that. I don't want to deal with that. But a team that I think that may meet us there is Kansas State. Like you said, I think Kansas State is just continuous. Like they're continuing to, I don't know. You know what Kansas State does really well? Kansas State and Iowa State both do this really well, is just maximizing the players on their team. It seems like they never have any depth issues at the spots that really matter, especially along the lines. And that kind of stuff is going to be tantamount. If we were really looking at quarterback stable that we are this year, of like, oh man, like all these quarterbacks are so good. The Big 12 just, there's 8 different quarterbacks that can go out and, make a bid for the Heisman, whatever people are saying. That there's got to be some play around that substantiates their, hey, Baird Morton's the truth. He's only the truth because we have got a good offensive line. He's not the truth when we don't, right? But I'm a big Brandon Sorsby fan. Like, I think Sorsby's a great quarterback. I've said that multiple times last year. He proved it sometimes really hard when your team sucks. If you had a good line, might get a little bit better picture of that. So it's like there's levels to this. I think Texas Tech is going to get there based off of our investment on the talent, just the sheer amount of talent that we have there, right? And the amount of pressure that is behind this team and this administration to make it happen. I really think that we'll probably meet Kansas State or Baylor. Baylor's another one I'm kind of scared to say. But if we're not going to have the Butt Bowl, might as well do it in Arlington, right? We're already used to doing that. So Texas Tech, Kansas State.
Jeremy. Years ago, we said, hey, this writing articles is fun. Let's go ahead and podcast together. I'm like, man, Jeremy's such a bright guy, such an intelligent, smart person. He'd be great on the pod. Let's do it. And you come out with takes like this.
That's right.
I'm
sorry, who just said Dante Corleone? That's right.
Because I'm a Maverick, okay? That's why.
Always the excuse, Ellie. Always the excuse. Why don't you want Texas Tech to win?
Listen, guys, I will say this. I promise we did not share notes pre-pod. I have the exact same.
Shut the hell up.
Are
you serious?
Yeah. I said before, I have 4 teams that are going to compete for the Big 12 title, and that's Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas State, Texas Tech. And looking at our schedule, we are, in my opinion, in conference, we are either going to go 6-3 or 7-2. 7-2 gets in the Big 12 in the Big 12 championship game. 6-3 does not. Right? I went out on a whim and said I think Texas Tech is going to go 7-2 in the conference. I think those 2 losses are likely at Utah and at Kansas State. But the beauty of that is that if we win, let's say we win at Utah, then that means that if we win at Utah and we lose somewhere else, that still keeps that 7-2. Right? Some other places we may slip up. At Arizona State, it's not going to be fun. At West Virginia, it's not going to be fun. That's about it. That's about it. But I still, this team, I think the biggest thing that I've never seen this from Texas Tech, when we get off the bus, are we bigger than the other team? And for the first time, maybe ever, I think when we get off the bus, we will be bigger than almost every team we play. I think the only 2 teams that when we get off the bus, we will not be bigger than is Utah and Kansas State. I think that's it, right? And so I think 7-2. I feel weird saying it, but I can't. I've been yelling about this season for 2 years. I can't yell about the season for 2 years and then not put us in the Big 12 championship game.
That's right.
So
you've been talking about this season before anybody even thought about this season.
Never thought about it. So I got to roll with it. I'm still scared we won't pull through, but I'm gonna have us in the Big 12 championship game. So I have us there at 7-2. The question was who's going to join us, and I said the other 3 teams that would be there: Kansas State, Iowa State, and Baylor. I wiped out Iowa State first and foremost. I do think Kansas State's going to win this weekend, and then also I think Avery Johnson's going to have a better season than Rocco Becht. I think that the Kansas State defense has it's close. I think Kansas State defense and Iowa State defense is very close, but I think Kansas State just has a little bit more weapons. So I immediately knocked out Iowa State. So then it's a question of, Kansas State versus Baylor. Kansas State has a very easy schedule. If we take preseason rankings into account, Texas Tech's the only ranked team they play all year. Oh, and Iowa State, of course, this weekend. Yeah. They have at Arizona. The toughest game they will have this year is at Baylor. That is the toughest game they will have this year. Maybe at Utah if Utah acts right. Right? That's it. I think Kansas State, if they do win this weekend, like I think they will, that might be an 8-1 conference season. To where with Baylor, I think they have a little bit more. Though they don't play Texas Tech, they do play Kansas State. They do play Arizona State. They do play TCU on the road in a rivalry game. They do play Utah. Right? They do play some of the better teams, the teams that I think are going to give them a little bit of trouble. And I think Baylor needs Sawyer Robertson more than Kansas State needs Avery Johnson. And
I like that.
Yeah. So I got Kansas State in there. So I'll answer first about who I think is going to win the game. I usually have the answer, but I'm going to answer first this time. I've been racking my brain about this. Because if I have Texas Tech and Kansas State in the championship game, that means it's a rematch. It's a rematch of a game that I think Texas Tech lost. I think Texas Tech loses. That's actually the game I'm most positive we lose is at K-State. So do I really think Texas Tech loses to K-State twice in Jerry World, where we're going to have the home field advantage? K-State's going to be there, but let me tell you something. Texas Tech in that Big 12 championship game, it's going to be at least 70% Red Raiders, if not 80. Right? K-State's going to do their damnedest to be there. I'm not discounting Wildcat fans. I know that they're rabid. I know they're going to do whatever it takes to be there. But in Arlington, it's going to be us. And especially after we've lost the first time, like I think we will, that get back going to be sweet. I got Texas Tech winning the Big 12. I don't feel great about it. I don't.
No.
Never done it before. I've never done it before. I don't know if I've ever. Have I ever even done it in any sport? Don't know.
Not even outside of our basketball. Have you ever felt comfortable to give us a conference championship?
I predicted a conference championship in baseball before. In soccer, last year soccer, I predicted us winning conference championship. So there's that.
That's easier.
That's easier. But I don't know if I've ever predicted it. And definitely not in football. I'm trying to think. Maybe once in basketball if I have. But yeah, it's. I don't feel great. So Jeremy, are you reading my notes again?
Dude, I'm reading your notes, man. I'm Texas Tech all the way, buddy. Like, and for that exact reason,
we're going. Jeremy, we're going 0-9 in conference now.
Tell the pod. It's over if we go 0-9, buddy. I'm out of here. Or I'll pod with a brown bag over my face for the rest of the day for this. I would never admit that I do this. Yeah, no, dude, Texas Tech, for those reasons, you're bigger than most, if not all, of your opponents. If you do happen to lose to Kansas State, I don't think the guys that are on this team, the kind of competitors that you've brought in, really would take that lightly. Even if you got blasted that first game, I think that second game Texas Tech gets. Now, on the flip side, you beat Kansas State the first, and then you get, you face them again in the. I still think that Texas Tech. It is that the fact that we are going to be there for the first time, and everything is right. Like there is so much riding on getting there and competing and winning that championship for the first time. I just think that there was so much momentum behind this team and behind the coaches, and we have great coordinators. We haven't even mentioned them yet, but we got Shieldwood and we've got. I went backwards and
Mac Leftwich.
We've got Woods and Leftwich, and those are two brilliant dudes by their own measure. And now they've got all these weapons that really they haven't had access to, I would argue, on their track records. Texas State and then Houston and Wood was, I can't remember what it was before, but like it's like you could drive a Lamborghini now, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm trying to be in this weird world of enjoying that expectation while fighting off the anxiety of expecting to win stuff. I'm just like, if I think we're going to win this game, we're probably going to lose. It's just like that Texas Tech mentality.
Yeah.
I can't get too excited because we're probably going to lose.
Well, I do think
that with the we might.
I do think a big piece though that you mentioned is that I think we fall victim as fans to the typical Tech mantra, but a lot of these guys don't even know nothing about that. Right?
No, they never experienced typical.
Shieldwood was at Army, then Troy, then Tulane, then Houston, then Tech. Right? Mac Leftwich has been found a way to build up and help build up Texas State to where they are now. Right? David Bailey did come from Stanford. They weren't necessarily winning, but he don't know nothing about, hey, we're supposed to win this game and we lose. He doesn't know about the typical Tech mantra. Like a lot of these guys don't know about all this. So yeah, I mean, even the young guys that have been here for a couple of years, all they know is we win games. All they know is we usually win 8 games.
That's right.
Baron Morton's really the only guy that knows what bad Tech looks like.
Yeah, it's a tough person on the field to know that. If you have one guy who hopefully doesn't have that trauma, it's the quarterback.
That's true. That's true.
But he's a gamer. I mean,
he's a gamer. So scary stuff. So as we switch over, as we kind of end the pod here, that does put Texas Tech in the college football playoff, right? So
We are cooking with peanut oil.
I'm not going to necessarily go into all the details as far as where Tech goes. We have a pod coming up where we go into detail about the Texas Tech season, some Texas Tech players that we think is going to have a great season, yada, yada, yada. You already know that we both think they're going to win the conference championship, which is kind of crazy. But who is in the national championship game, Jeremy, and who wins it?
The Natty?
The Natty.
Dude, I don't know.
Big Nat.
I don't know, man. I've seen a couple of different brackets. Let me pull up one here. Okay, so you've got all the conference champions. I saw one. Let me pull this one up from Brett Ciancia, Pick Six previews. Excuse me. There it is. That's right. 16-team format or 12-team format, whatever it is. Texas, LSU, Oregon, Arizona State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Miami, Georgia, Boise State, Alabama, Clemson. Alabama being in there blows my mind. But I don't think Texas makes it there again. I'm going to say that out loud because they got a big question mark at quarterback, even though he's got a very recognizable name. Have not seen him actually tested against a good team. So Ohio State's obviously a team that you look at and say, yeah, probably a favorite. Michigan's reeling in the Big Ten in terms of production. I think Ohio State's just got a lot more going for them in the Big Ten, and they've just got a really solid team right now. So that's one team I could see being in the playoff there.
Who'd you say, Ohio State?
Yeah. And who else? Man, I don't know. I really don't know. And this is it's kind of weird season.
So does that mean you have Ohio State repeating?
It depends on who they go up against. But I think there's a really strong team right now.
That's what predictions are for, Jeremy.
That's not brave to say, I know. But yeah, I don't know. That's too hard for me to pick, man. I could just say whatever, but
you could just say whatever. Yeah. It's not like we're gonna clip this and make fun of you for it later when Ohio State goes 6-6.
You don't know how to clip. You don't know how to clip anything, so I can't be afraid.
It's true.
Penn State. You know what? We talk about the Big Ten. Why not Penn State? You were talking about Penn State the other night. Why not Penn State? This is your year to go do it. Go do it. Screw Ohio State. Forget I said Ohio State. We'll say Penn State and Georgia because they can't avoid a national championship to save their life. Unless they lose more of their team to driving-related incidences. But give me Penn State, man. Penn State winning the Natty this year. Getting the ghost of what was that coach's name? Who got fired and then died immediately after because
Joe Paterno?
Paterno. Getting the Paterno ghost off their back. I don't know. Why? Who are you telling?
So Pick Six Previews actually also has Penn State. And they're, according to them, the most accurate preview magazine. So look at that. They do have an Arizona State winning the conference though, so how accurate?
Damn you, Brett.
Yeah. And Texas Tech tied for second, so I guess that means maybe it'd be Tech Arizona State in Arlington. Yeah. So I mentioned it before that I think this is definitely the year Penn State finally wins the Big Ten. I think this is a down year for the Big Ten overall. I do like LSU. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to have a pretty decent season. I worry about Brian Kelly because he's weird as hell. But I do think that they're going to have a pretty decent season. So last year Ohio State was an 8 seed and won the national championship. So I think sometimes I caution against just picking Penn State, who does look like potentially the best team in the country, or picking Georgia, who looks like who's loaded, right? Like what's a team that I think is going to be an 8 seed or that may make a run like Ohio State did last year? And that's the team that I think of when it comes to LSU. Right? I think some people are thinking maybe Clemson and Cade Klubnik, who does legitimately look like the best quarterback in the country.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I am going to go out on a limb. It's not a big limb. But I'm going to say I'm going to say Georgia. I'm going to say Georgia wins it all.
Oh.
I'm going to say Georgia wins it all.
Wow.
I really like their new quarterback. What's his name? They came in cold. Gunnar Stockton. He came in cold last year, and I think you could argue similar to Arch Manning. We don't necessarily know, but I would say this for Gunnar. Both Gunnar and Arch played in one game last year. Gunnar played in the college football playoff, and he started off hot, got figured out cold, got him tested. I think he's everything that Arch was supposed to be out of high school too. We haven't seen Arch outside of just UTSA. So I think Gunnar Stockton, I think Georgia's a little bit more physical than both LSU and Texas. And so though Garrett Nussmeier, I think maybe the reason why LSU does win, I don't trust Brian Kelly, especially that's winning a national championship. So give me Georgia. Give me Georgia. All right. Last but not least, who wins the Heisman? You got a Heisman pick?
I do not have a Heisman pick. And you're not pressing me for one. I'd like a non-quarterback Heisman this year. That'd be fun.
I don't think that's happening. I really don't. I mean, you never know. You never know. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks this year. My pick is actually probably going to be Cade Klubnik because he has the hype already. ACC is not that great of a conference. He should be able to get to the college football playoff fairly easily. I don't really think there's going to be much competition for Clemson to just run through the conference. They'll probably go like 11-1, 10-2 at worst. So Cade Klubnik is, and because he's already viewed as like the number one quarterback in the country already. He's probably my pick for the Heisman. There is two guys that I do think are, I don't want to say better quarterbacks, but have the ability to be dynamic. I will say this. So Lenore Sellers is out of South Carolina, is somebody that also has a lot of hype coming into this season, similar to Cade Klubnik. But I believe if Cade does not win the Heisman, it'll go to DJ Lagway in Florida.
Oh, okay.
The only reason why I'm not picking DJ for it, because I want to pick DJ for it. Only reason why I'm not, and you know what, screw it. I might just go a spicy take and say DJ Lagway does it. Actually, screw it. DJ Lagway, baby. Because my thing with DJ Lagway, I think he's the most dynamic. I do think he's the most dynamic quarterback in the country. He's only a sophomore. Shout out to Willis, Texas. He saved Billy Napier's job last year, almost single-handedly. And if Florida wins 10 games this year, it's going to be because of DJ Lagway. Only reason why I'm scared to pick him as the MVP because I don't think Florida's winning 10 games this year. I think they're going to have a decent season, 8-9 wins, which is still crazy. But to win 10 games is a lot. I do think DJ Lagway eventually does win a Heisman, probably next year. But you got to win games. It's going to be tough in the SEC with that team for him to win a Heisman. But I do think if it's not Cade, because I do think Cade's going to win 11 games, then it very well could be DJ Lagway.
Hey, I like it.
DJ Lagway winning 10 games with Florida is way more impressive than Cade even going undefeated with Clemson.
Oh, 100%.
Right. So, anything else you want to say to the people?
Nope. Because we'll be back sooner than you can think. Back to 2 a week.
That's right. So we're at 2 a week now. This is the second episode this week. So we back.
I know.
Next episode, we are going to talk more about Texas Tech as a team. David Bailey, Lee Hunter, Jacob Rodriguez, all those guys. We're going to talk about all of them a little more detailed. And then, I mean, like I said, you already know that me and Jeremy picked Texas Tech to win the conference. But what does that look like?
How do we get there?
Right. And so
who's leading us?
Let's talk about all that. Let's talk about who we think is going to have a good season, who's going to have a not so good season. And so let's go through it. So. For the people chat, that is Jeremy Gillen. This is your boy, I'll be short, and you have been listening to the Tortillas and Takes podcast, home of the eventual Big 12 champions and part of the 10-12 network. As always, stay right, people.